Hello everyone, welcome to my Ghostbusters Remastered, professional difficulty, no upgrade walkthrough, and this is the Sedgewick Hotel. But first we're starting off in the firehouse, because Slimer has escaped, and now we have to try to capture him. And it's going to end up failing, and then Slimer's going to run away, and then eventually another ghost will appear and we have to capture him, and it will be our first ghost capture. And all of this is just tutorial. It's teaching you how to play the game, it's teaching you how to read your HUD elements, it's teaching you how the ghosts behave in this game. And it's a really fun game. This game was originally on the PS3 version, and this is easily the best Ghostbusters game ever made. Not only for being a fully 3D Ghostbusters game, not only for having the greatest cast ever, but it's just the gameplay just feels like Ghostbusters. It really does. You know, every other Ghostbusters game out there has been trash. They've never been able to capture the essence and soul of being a Ghostbusters, because all of them were just like 2D games, and then the mechanics were just horrible, and the games were oftentimes very buggy. But then this game comes out, and the physics engine is really helpful. The proton stream looks amazing. The proton pack and all the other equipment that you get to use, it's very handy. And then you know, you're fighting enemies that were previously in the film franchise, and it's just such a nice nostalgic feeling, and this game can be a lot of fun at times. However, coming back to it, now that I've actually become the gamer that I am, now that I've actually looked at games at a mechanical level, this game has a bit of unpolishedness in a lot of areas. But they've definitely fixed a lot of the issues with this remaster, because originally on the PS3 version, there were a lot of big problems with this game. The first big problem with this game is the frame rate. The frame rate on the PS3 version was awful. It could sometimes dip down into the 20s, and then most of the time it was down in like the 10s. Because there are a lot of explosive moments that happen in this game, there's a lot of particle effects happening, and it really screws with the frame rate. But this remastered version, the frame rate is a perfect 60. I barely noticed any kind of frame rate drop in this whole entire game. And that is the biggest achievement of this game. And originally on the PS3 version, the game would also crash as well. There were a lot of moments where the game could just unexpectedly crash. But I just did a live stream of this game the day of release, which is today, and the game didn't crash once. So they've definitely optimized the game a lot better now. The dialogue actually loads a lot faster. And yeah, it's a significant improvement, that's all I'll say. But back to the walkthrough. I'm going to be mainly focusing on the combat encounters. I'm going to be removing all the exposition moments and all the slow moments where you're not really doing anything, you're just following an AI partner. And I'm going to be focusing mainly on the combat encounters. And I just skipped a large portion of the hotel area because you're not doing a lot of combat. There's really no combat to do in the hotel area. It's just another tutorial to introduce you to the PKE system. And now we're just in this area now, and we're into some combat. And we're dealing with bellhop ghosts right now. Now, the way the ghost busting works on this game is the enemies have health, obviously, so you gotta drain them of their energy, and then eventually, when you see the health bar turn red, you can enable the capture stream, and you will be able to capture them. And then you have to drag them into the trap and make sure they stay there. It takes some getting used to. Definitely with some upgrades, it's a little bit easier, but this is a no upgrade run, so I'm gonna have to deal with the fact that the ghosts will not get into the trap very easily. They have to stay inside the cone for a very long duration before they actually go into the trap, and I won't be able to gain access to certain abilities like slam dunking, where you can just slam the ghost into the traps. And not that that move's really good anyway, because the detection on it is not really the best. There's a lot of issues with detection on this game. And then there's a lot of hitbox issues. Like these bellhop ghosts, for instance, the projectiles that they throw have phantom range. It's like that with a lot of the ghosts on this game. And just looking at these hitbox issues entirely, it was definitely clear that the game was very unpolished when it first released on PS3. And then this remaster comes out, and they've fixed certain issues, but not all of them. I mean, obviously they fixed the frame rate issues, but they haven't really fixed the hitbox issues. And all we're doing in this encounter is just capturing the first two bellhop ghosts, and then all we gotta do is deal enough damage to the ghosts so that they get driven away. And look at my proton stream right now. Do you notice how it's kind of wiggling all over the place, and my reticle is blooming? Well, that's one of the main things I have to deal with on this no upgrade run. Like, the equipment that you use on this game definitely needs the upgrades. I think this game was mainly built around using all of the weapons at their full potential by just using the upgrade tree. And I'm going to be playing the game at the lowest possible setting. And also, something you're probably wondering, why exactly is my character blue, and why did they have a golden proton pack? I'm wondering that myself. I assume you get that once you beat the game, which was something that didn't exist on the PS3 version. So that's a nice little detail. So that's definitely an indication that I've beaten this game already. But as I was saying, you know, having to deal with these kind of issues, like with the proton stream just wiggling all over the place, it makes it really hard to hit the ghosts. And sometimes even when feathering the trigger, the proton stream will not aim where the reticle is aiming. It'll kind of fire outside of the reticle. It's like some Evil Within nonsense right there. So I definitely recommend, if you're just playing the game normally, to just get blast stream focusing from the beginning, because it's very cheap. It's like $1,500, and you can get that very easily by just like doing a lot of scanning and then capturing ghosts and then getting cursed artifacts. You know, there are a lot of different ways of getting money on this game, and I like the fact that when you're getting the collectibles on this game, they give you a reward. This is one of the few games I know of where they actually give you in-game currency for scanning certain collectibles, which is so cool. But back to the game right now. We're dealing with Slimer again, and we're going to try to capture him. And on my first playthrough of the remastered version, I was able to beat the entire game on professional difficulty without causing $100,000 worth of damage. And I'll definitely explain some of the tips you want to know if you're wanting to go for that trophy, but I'm not going to be doing that on this walkthrough. I'm just going to be doing a strict no-upgrade walkthrough. And one of the things you definitely need to know is the upgrades are definitely essential if you're trying to do a trophy run where you have to get the $100,000 or less trophy. And blast stream focusing is definitely essential, because, as I've already said, firing the proton stream, like, look at that, did you see that? Did you see how my proton stream wasn't firing where my reticle was pointing? It was firing, like, at the ground. It's something you gotta get used to when you're trying to do a no-upgrade run of this game. But one of the tips you definitely need to know for the Sedgewick Hotel, if you're trying to do the $100,000 or less trophy, is you want to try to attack the ghosts when they're just standing still or when they're doing an attack animation. They're completely vulnerable when they're doing it, and you want to get like blast stream focusing. You need fast trap, and slam dunk trapping can kind of help, but as I've already mentioned, the detection is kind of awkward. And then you never want to shoot any possessed objects, because it will count against you in the financial records. If you want to check your progress on how much damage you've done to the environment, go to the financial records tab inside of the pause menu, and you can track your progress. And by the way, I don't think you can restart the checkpoint to negate all the damage you've done to the environment. I think once you do the damage to the environment, it stays there permanently, which is really bad. I don't like that at all, because it's so easy to hit the environment in this game, because the ghosts keep like flinging objects to you. Your teammates will just push objects towards you and block your shots. You know, there's a lot of different ways that the environment can get destroyed just without you even trying, and the fact that you can't just restart the checkpoint to completely negate the fact that you just did damage to the environment is pretty annoying. I mean, obviously, if you're trying to go for that trophy, just play on like casual difficulty, and that's just the easiest way to do it. But I guarantee that if someone's going to do a restricted run of this game where they play on professional difficulty without upgrades and without doing at least $100,000 worth of damage to the environment, it is going to be miserable, let me tell you. Because all that progress that you did throughout the full game will have to be completely negated because of the fact that you can't restart the checkpoint and negate what you did to the environment. And also, I should have mentioned for Slimer in the ballroom area, if he decides to put himself inside of a table, just run into the table and he'll just get out of it and you won't have to risk damage to the tables. Ooh, that's something you need to bear in mind. Do not cross the streams. Anyone who's a big fan of the Ghostbusters series will know exactly what crossing the streams means. It spells danger. And if you cross the streams on this game, you will take a lot of damage on professional difficulty. It doesn't instantly down you, but you will take a lot of damage, and you do not want to get put into that situation. And one cool thing about this game that I like is that you don't have to pick up your trap all the time. You can actually completely ignore having to pick up your trap and just press square, and the rookie will just pull out a new trap out of thin air, which is really cool. And there we go. We've just done some of the harder encounters of the game. The Sedgewick Hotel in Times Square are the hardest levels in the game, every other level, because of the fact that you have access to a lot of tools, and combination of the tools is essential to success in this game, the future levels are just not as difficult as these earlier levels. The first two levels are the most difficult. I mean, there are some difficult fights in the library level and the museum level, but then the rest of the game is just a joke at that point. But even still, though, despite those difficult encounters in the library and the museum, the game is just not hard during those sequences, because there's many ways of just bypassing a lot of those encounters. And I'll definitely demonstrate it when I get the chance to showcase them in my walkthrough. But this is important right now. We're dealing with the crawler type enemy, which is one of the most dangerous enemy types in this game. I mean, specifically the candelabra crawlers. The candelabra crawlers are the most dangerous. The other crawler type enemies are just not as lethal as these guys. Never try to run away from them. They will catch you so quickly. And because of the fact that I don't have blast stream focusing, it makes it very difficult to hit these guys. You gotta just feather the trigger to make sure you're hitting these guys. And these guys have a range attack, they have a charge attack, and hitting them with the proton stream can be very difficult. And because of the fact that we don't have access to the shock blast at this point in the game, dealing with these large numbers of enemies can be very, very dangerous. But here they come again. Just deal with them accordingly. And they will... See, look at this. I'm very close to dying right now. The enemies do so much damage on professional difficulty. And like I said, the lack of tools at your disposal in the first two levels of this game makes it very challenging. Although, surprisingly, I played the second level. That's the furthest I've gotten in this walkthrough so far. And I managed to survive 2 hard encounters inside of the Times Square level on my first try, which honestly shocked me. I cannot believe I was able to do it, which was absolutely crazy. But there's Pappy Sargassi. We're trying to chase him right now, and this is actually the end of the Hotel Sedgewick level. The levels on this game are generally very short. The longest level in the game is the museum level. Every other level can be done in roughly 30 minutes, I'd say. Maybe less, if you're going for speedrunning and you're just skipping cutscenes. And this is something you're gonna have to notice a lot in the ghost behavior. The ghosts on this game behave very, very weirdly. They'll sometimes get stuck in corners, and they just won't attack you for such a long duration. There's some problem with the AI on the ghosts in this game. It's been like that ever since the PS3 version released. Another thing you're gonna have to get used to is just with the physics engine, because oftentimes when you're trying to wrangle ghosts into your capture stream, the slam function can sometimes launch ghosts all the way up into the sky, or they'll sometimes get stuck in the ground or something. It's a lot of weird issues that can occur with this game, because Terminal Reality were just experimenting with this physics engine, and it did come across with a lot of issues, and it doesn't really look like this this new developer really tried to fix a lot of the issues with the physics engine. But thankfully, in my first playthrough of playing this game, and this is actually the second time I'm playing this game that I'm doing this walkthrough, I didn't really encounter any funky moments with the physics engine being weird. So maybe I'm wrong. Maybe this new developer made some improvements to the physics engine, but don't take my word for it. Maybe they'll just it's just something that's gonna happen after like multiple playthroughs. But this is a new enemy type. This is a golem type enemy. There are multiple enemy types like this throughout the game, and these enemies are really fair. They're very balanced, too balanced, in my opinion, because they aren't bullcrap in the slightest. They're very fair, because they mainly try to do their charge attack, and the charge attack is the one move that they tend to spam a lot, and you can easily dodge it because it's really well designed. The hitbox on it is very fair. The tracking on it is perfectly fair as well. Yeah, so that's an enemy type that I kind of wish had a little bit more moves to it. Yeah, but I'll definitely just go into more detail about that enemy type and the other enemy types in this game once I get to them. But that is the end of the Hotel Sedgewick level. Stay tuned for future chapters. Thank you all for watching, and you take care now.
That's really me not liking it. Happens every day, right?